Hey, how's it going? And as soon as I was going to start talking, there was something on my tongue. I was just cleaning it, so that might be why. A little delayed reaction or something. Anyway, hey, how's it going? So, look at my signs, please. And, well, I know what I'm going to talk about, but I don't know where it's going to go. So, here we go. All right, so we have 2 moons now. Ooh, wait. Hold on. Okay. 2 moons. With 1 moon, it was already like, I could feel it coming, you know, especially if it was, I don't know, like they're all kind of a big deal, but I guess there's bigger deal moons than others. But yeah, they don't all like affect me the same way. Sometimes they don't at all, but sometimes when they do, it's kind of crazy. So I've been kind of like trepidatious at the idea of having 2 moons. And I'm just thinking about, oh, how's it gonna affect me? But I mean, it must have happened before, because everything is in cycles. So I'm just thinking, like, 2 moons could make Earth behave differently, right? But do we know how? They're not talking about that. And I know I have, like, well, I have cords all over the place that are bugging me. Hold on a second. Look, like I said, we don't know what it does, but maybe there's like a record of it when it happened before. So, I'm just going to put that aside, having introduced it, but I just want to say I'm expecting it to make me nuts, or make other people nuts, make the planet nuts in some way that's unusual, not normal. Nothing so far. Haven't watched the news today yet, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on outside of here. But anyway, I came across a piece of information. It's probably about 4 months ago now, and I guess I've just like put it on the back burner to stew or something, because I guess I just didn't know what to do with it. I don't know how to verify it. I had not heard mention of this before. It doesn't surprise me, actually, considering the original story is so wackadoodle. I was watching Dolores Cannon, and it was a show called Jesus and the Essenes, and it's in several parts. And it's about what was retold by, I don't know if that's right. She does hypnotic, or she did, she's not alive anymore, but she did hypnotic regressions, and she found that she could go deeper and deeper into the subconscious, and the subconscious is like quantum, because it can time travel, apparently. Are you with me on this? So she's regressing this woman, and the woman, she was just like full of all this crazy, surprising information. And I guess she had several sessions, and the Jesus and the Essenes sessions have to do with this person, this woman, reliving a previous life. Or Dolores Cannon contacted in this woman's subconscious a previous life from the time of Jesus in Israel and the other places around that area at this particular age. So the person in the recollection is Simon, I believe his name. I think, is that right? I'm doubting. It's a guy. It's a dude, right? And he lives in, oh, God. It's very similar to the city, the ancient mystical city in, I know this is in the Marvel Netflix series Iron Claw, or White. No, not White. Wait. The weird story about the white guy that like gets lost in like Tibet or something, and he ends up in this mystical city of, I think it's called Kundun, or maybe that's the name of this city that I'm trying to talk about. It sounds similar to Kundun, and it's a settlement where Essenes live in, I believe they're in Israel, right? So Essenes were like a particular religious sect, and Jesus went to study with them in that city for a while as a youth. I don't remember exactly how old he would have been at the time, but one of the things that came out as this man was speaking, was that Mary, Jesus' mother, was not the only virgin, like holy virgin, to give birth. Her grandmother also did it. So isn't that funny? Like, it skipped a generation. And yes, I'm taking it as fact. So though it's just a strange story altogether, and of course interpretations and retellings over the centuries have really, I think, mangled the story. But that's like the story of the Bible. It's a book full of mangled stories, kinda, sorta. Like, there's stuff in there that's totally worthwhile if you can tell it from the stuff that's just been messed with and manipulated just to like keep people in line at various times over time. So even that's not really in sync. Like, it's just kind of this uneven. It's a crazy book. That's all I'm gonna say about it now. But so yeah, sure, the Virgin Mary, her grandmother also gave a virgin birth, which I don't recall hearing about anywhere. And this is what I started to say at the beginning when I started, is I don't even know how to research that other than to, you know, find those hypnotic regressions and just listen to all of them. But the problem is that they're kind of intense, so I can watch it for a while and then I have to like shut it off and watch or do something else because it's so intense. God damn it! No, kitty, you just have to wait. And you can yell all you want. You shouldn't have come in. So, anyway. Yeah, I didn't know how to research it, so. Also, like, over the past a long time, just weird stuff has happened. And some of it can be traced back to stuff that's happened in the Bible, because it's a record made by people over time. So I think it's not crazy to feel like, sure, it's going to reflect their reactions and descriptions to whatever was happening. So just like with Mary, the grandmother, I imagine both the woman and the men around them, like whoever their significant other was, because it sounds like the same thing happened from the little bit that she said. Like, there would have been a man. Oh my God. Hi, let's go let the fucking cat out. Come on, asshole. You're totally bugging me right now and breaking my concentration and screwing up my... Here, bye. Get the fuck out. Sorry, people, if you think that was too mean, but I had let him out, did my meditation, was all set to go, and then he came back in and made a huge bang and just knocked me right out of it. So I was like, okay, hold it together. Don't just get all mad and lose your mood, but can that little so-and-so wait? Can he ever listen? No. Okay. All right, he's gone. So there would have been, I think, visitations. That much is recorded in the Bible regarding Mary. So she was visited, like, here's what's going to happen to you. I don't think she was offered choices about it. And so persuasion would have had to take place, but she was really young. Like, the youth, the age of how people here in America are trying to be all like, yeah, sure, we'll just go back to, like, marrying children because that's what we wanted to do all along anyway. We just made all these rules and morals that made it no bueno. And so, you know, progress and time happens, and maybe there were reasons for doing things a certain way in the past, but you move out of that, and there's good reason. You learn, you become educated about things, and going backward is never good. Like, that is why things always go forward, because you do the thing and then you move on. You can remember it, you can think about it, you can make history of it, but you can't, like, live in the past, because time moves on. Morals move on. Things that are important move on. So anyway, here's this young girl, and they're telling her, you're gonna get pregnant. She does not have a man. So then, as now, unfortunately, we drag this crap from all the way back then. If you are pregnant and you are not attached to some man to legitimize you, you are bad. And that is just not even covering what all could happen to you. But let's put it this way, the worst thing is, well, you're gonna get killed for it, but I think the way to do it was, like, publicly assisted execution. Like, literally, people would get stoned to death. And again, language also evolves and grows. Stoned means something different today. People seek it out for recreation. They want to do it, but it does not mean the same thing. Back then, if you wanted to get stoned, well, really, you, man or woman, you could screw up so easily and find everybody getting you stoned with actual stones and rocks and, you know, throwing them at you, everybody, until you're, like, no longer, and that's, you know what, until you're dead. So, like, that sounds unpleasant. Sounds like it would take a long time. And I can just imagine the people getting whipped up into a froth and just this ugly, snarling mass around a person of, in my opinion, dubious guilt. But, you know, they had their rules, and I'm glad that, I'm not going to say that I never lived in a time like that, because I am pretty sure I have lived other lives, but that one sounds unpleasant. So, both women, I'm sure, had a visitation, and by visitation I mean an angel, as is described by the Bible, would come and talk to them and go, look, here's what's going to happen. This is what you're going to do when it happens, and you're doing it because it's God's plan. And I think even today, that might be a hard, come on, that might be a hard pill to swallow. I just don't know if people today have that same devotion and faith anymore. And the world around us makes it so difficult for that to happen. So many distractions, so many temptations, so many things to take your mind off of the main thing that you are supposed to have it on. And that's not going to necessarily be the same for everyone, but just, I really want to impress the difference between now and then. And also, we don't actually know the truth of everything in the past because somebody always has to put a spin on it. You know, like, for your own good, for national security, like some BS answer. Somebody doesn't want you to know all of something, all of everything about something, because if too many people knew the actual answer, the person giving you the wrong answer would be in trouble with all of the people. And that's like a whole other series of rabbit holes, so I'm going to try to not even go down there. But obviously, you know, when this overwhelming presence comes, an angel, what is the first thing they always say? Fear not. Because apparently having something enter into your existence is frightening. It's unusual. You ain't never seen no shit like that before, and you're just like overwhelmed. So I would think your like impulse would be, I'm gonna listen to this thing because it could just come in here and turn me into a puddle weeping and oh my god, you know. So, and I believe that because sometimes I know that I get close to spirit because of what I'm doing at the time, and then like I will be on the verge of tears, and then of course I'll put the brakes on it, which I shouldn't, because crying has a whole messed up thing with me. But it's not that. It's completely involuntary, you know. It's just like whammo, it's there, and like I'm about to cry. And so I recognize that description of seeing the angel and like weeping because they say fear, but I don't know, like, if fear is what they're feeling. It's just, possibly, I mean, like I said, we just don't have a real clear view of what the heck was going on in something like that. Well, anyway, no sidetracking. So the men would have been visited too. So let me just quickly for a minute go back to the women. Then, as now, if you mess up and people start to look at you like in a bad light, like you're the criminal, you have done something wrong, yeah, I mean, we still shun and whatever today, except now we call it canceled. Although shunning back in the day was a hell of a lot worse than getting canceled, because first of all, everybody who has gotten canceled just about is out there pissing and moaning about it. And so I feel like I can still hear you, so that doesn't feel canceled to me. I've given my opinions on that before. I feel like your feelings got hurt. You didn't like what was said, and so you're canceled? Another hole I don't want to go down, so wrench it back this way. The women did not have it great. They did not have a lot of, what is the word? Not autonomy, but agency over their own lives. I mean, they did and they didn't, because things were drastically different than how they are today. I don't know if what was portrayed in the Bible, which is sort of in my mind like the Flintstones time, remove the Flintstones and put in the Bible people, and that's good. Or tents also. I don't know, you know, I don't know. But forget that for a minute. So the men would have been visited too, and then they would have, like, I guess, societal, moral rails that they couldn't, or, you know, lanes that they had to stay in. what do you call that thing on the subway trains? The electric place you're not supposed to get near. Boy, why am I going blank on that? Well, I think you know what I mean. The thing you want to avoid, the thing you don't want to step or accidentally fall on. Like the reddest line. Yeah, my teeth are moving around. Sorry about that. So, constraints they would have felt. And because they were there, and God, it almost, I always think of East Germany when I think of the societies that just narc on each other because somebody told them, you know, watch everybody else because they're going to be doing something wrong. And that never works. Like, when you got everybody telling on each other over stuff that are, like, arbitrarily made crimes to lock you into, like, roles and positions and keep you sort of immobile in a lot of ways, and from having agency of your own. And I can see how in an organizational way that makes sense, but there's got to be other ways to do that where you're not like making everyone petrified of shame and always like watching each other like, what are you doing, what are you doing, I'm gonna tell on you, and then it leading to getting stoned but not a good stoning, you know. So I just feel like, man, these people really had a lot put on them, and apparently they just decided to go ahead and do it. Because here's the thing with Joseph, he decided to make a wife of this girl who was pregnant that he did not impregnate, and therefore was illegitimate herself. Forget about having an illegitimate child. She was illegitimate. And if somebody didn't collect her the way Joseph did and legitimize her by making her his wife, she would have been killed. Her and the baby. Yeah. Like, I know we have this conversation about abortion and what constitutes a child, as far as en suite in the womb or like out in the world alive. The Bible says when life starts, it doesn't say it starts at conception. And it's interesting that it doesn't come up much, because I remember it, as soon as somebody starts talking about when life begins, I'm like, yeah, but it says. But here's the thing, in that particular scripture, it doesn't say it right at the beginning, and I think that's why people are not that familiar with it, or else they just decided to discard it. And it's like, wait, you're discarding the word of God and putting yours in there? Excuse me, but isn't there something in the Bible about specifically not doing that? Look, the only reason I say it that way is like, I'm not out there all, I am a Christian, I am super religious, I am, you know, East Germany in antiquity all narking on everybody. Like, that sucks. Who likes a narc? Even take it out of the context of crime. Because I'm talking about manufactured crimes. Like, it's not even really a crime. It's just a control mechanism. And then we get all sucked into it and take a liking to it. And next thing you know, we forget that it ain't real. And I don't know. It just doesn't end well. God, I'm getting sidetracked. So I think it would have been a lot of pressure. Like, okay, he legitimized her, but then everybody's going to be looking at him all side-eye, like, what's up with that? I think. I mean, I feel like if those rules and moralities were today's, there would be an element of that. But then also, now people are just all judgmental, so they would just be all, hey, either it'd be all, hey, stop it, or hey, good on you, got yourself a child, you old perv. And I hear that coming from another old perv, by the way, to be clear. Because then it wasn't pervy, I guess. I have a feeling the women might have felt differently, and you don't get a whole lot of their side of these stories, like, at all. If they're in there and they're talked about, eventually they're bad. Like at the end of the story, think of the women in Egypt, the ones that become pharaohs. All of the same stuff's going on, and then the women get in there and the women do it, and it's like, oh my God, it's the terrible, most worst thing ever. And then the woman, like, I don't know what we did to the men way back when, but damn, are you gonna ever get over it? Oh, sidetracked again, but not that much, I think. So I don't know what Joseph would have had to go through, but apparently he went through it okay, because it sounds like he was successful, had a bunch of kids, had the wherewithal to have a bunch of kids, and I believe he was a merchant of some sort. Like, I think he did okay, so he was a good provider. And then whoever the grandfather was with the virgin birth grandmother, I imagine they would have had to go through the same thing. So I took some notes. I'm going to read them to you. Okay, 2 virgins that gave birth to the introduction of Christ into the world. Women who at a time when it was only acceptable to be married and pregnant both became vessels to accomplish some plan of the Creator's. Its intention isn't always clear to us, and it's because it's not our need to know. The ways of Spirit have no need for us to know. We are simply to have faith and follow any directives given us to perform and trust it's for the best without having all of the details. 2 moons are now a thing for the next 2 months. Moons have a lot of associations, and that I feel is the one that I feel like applies here. I don't think I said what that is, but I'll get to it. The moon sheds light, but it's like secondhand, a reflection of the original ray. Some is lost in translation because how can clarity be found in partial illumination? Being a nighttime celestial object, we can be sure of shadows cast and obscuring that which is hidden in the shade. For the 2 virgins, 2 improbably pregnant women is who they become. Less is known of the first virgin, the first version of the Holy Virgin, but she was Mary. Less is known of the first version, but she was Mary's grandmother. I forgot to put that punctuation. She was Mary, mother of Jesus' mother. So Jesus' grandmother. No, Mary's grandmother. Jesus' great-grandmother. For reasons unclear now, as today these women must have formed a particular type growth medium, unsullied by the seed of men. There must have needs been for a type of purity, not sullied by dirty little mudmen. I feel it were a consciousness infusion that needed to take. Oh, that took gens to take. Gens is in generations. Both women and the human husbands who must bear the strain of being protectors and loving family men, who, like Joseph most certainly did, faced opposition. The cancellation of the day. Imagine there were visitations. Oh, I imagine there were visitations to enact persuasion for both the men and women involved. They must have had to act as protectors to these women and families as a whole. 2 gens of femme who've gone through a mysterious birth and, despite the mores of the day, stood between the hate and misunderstanding of the day. We can see echoes of that today. Oh, 2 men who stood between the hate and misunderstanding of the day we can see echoes of today. I don't know if any of them understood the significance of Christ's consciousness, but consciousness that Mary's grandmother would have. Pass to her daughter. I couldn't see the P. I'm all ass. What did I write? That Mary's grandmother passed her to her daughter, and presumably, what the hell? Oh, skip to Mary. Perhaps the conditions were too dangerous for a first-gen virgin birth of Christ. They may not have understood what they did, but didn't question. Maybe? I mean, I don't know. They could, but didn't question. They could alternatively have understood what they'd undertaken and closed ranks, or circled the wagons and protected a literal mission from God. Wow, what a collective. I mean, to get everybody on board for that, because those people didn't just have, like, I was going to say one child, but there were places where people had more than one wife. I don't have specifics on that, but, you know, people had more than one wife, which meant, you know, that meant you had a lot of damn kids. Sorry, I'm getting, I don't know, thirsty. Where was I? However, they may have been dialed right in, as I'm sure a lot of the family beeswax would have been heavily guarded and occulted to the uninitiated onlooker. Also, the birth of Christ could be carried out as his Holy Father intended. And so the two women, with all of the cosmic secrets they contained, to bring forth a new shock to the society. A shock out of the ways of conquest, cruelty, violence, and greed. Do you know everything can exist without any of those? We can decide not to participate in these. Although change is scary and hard to break free of, we still behave in those primitive, olden behaviors. It's still our task and chance to take and live in unconditional love. I don't feel like that requires us to debase ourselves to demonstrate this. Not the way conquest, taking that which ain't yours, cruelty, violence, and greed do. I do believe they require the monumental task, or the monumental ask of us to be happy and grateful for whom and what we have. I know it's hard, babe, but in the best way. To give whatever it is you have to give to help and make a recipient happy to receive compassion and love. What the? Oh, we can be vulnerable. The virgins did it at a time when they lived to get stoned in the worst way to death. So they didn't live to get stoned. That sounds crazy. They just lived in a time where that's what they did with you if you didn't do the thing that everybody agreed was the right thing to do, and that's no way to live. I mean, generally, yeah, like we can have some input, but none of that. I just don't think it's healthy to go to the degree of narking on each other. That is why you have the agency and the free will, so that you can mind your own beeswax, and that way we're not in each other's way, and, you know, arguments and things don't have to happen. So Miracles of Cosmic Oracle deck. And I'm just gonna, well, I just have to read them. It talked about a shock to the system, like, of the society. So Jesus came along. He was born, actually, and introduced into the world to introduce to us. I hate to say this because it's in the sort of in the news right now, but the ideals and concepts of unconditional love and to live within the confines of kind of an evil world in unconditional love, to just like drop a love bomb in that paradigm. And so he came, and those of us who are interested know the story quite well, or it was introduced to us. I don't want to say by force, but kind of. But a lot of us know the story of Jesus, right? So, it didn't take. We didn't get it. We didn't care to listen. We didn't care that this dude, like, I don't like that people just are all, Jesus died for our sins. It's like they say it like, I'm smoking a cigarette. You don't know the ingredients other than tobacco. There shouldn't be ingredients other than tobacco, and yet there are. You're aware of that, but you don't know what they are. Like, if you see the name, you might not even be able to pronounce it, let alone know its composition and what its heated being is going to do to yours. Like, there's a lot that you just take on faith. So, the message is not the one that so many Christians have today, that Christ and Christianity is the only message, because think of it as accents. The different religions and even the different versions of Christianity, think of it as accents. They're all kind of reaching for the same being, like the creator, you know, and there's more to the creator. Like, it's not just a one being thing. And that's confusing, because you're not supposed to worship other gods than God. So on these demigods, but they have a place. They have had a place. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But the point is that I don't think God cares how you refer to them, as long as you not only acknowledge their existence, but give thanks for it. You know, I'm hesitant to use the word worship. I don't feel like that's healthy to do to anyone, including God. I haven't gotten struck down by lightning, but no, we're not separate from God, though. I think that's the thing. So if I don't feel like I want to be worshipped, I guess I can say that. So now there's people like me and others, a shaitan of others, that are talking about things to awaken in us the teachings of not just Jesus, but of, the thing about Jesus is he has that name, Christ, but it's not a name. Like, you don't hear anybody saying Joseph Christ or Mary Christ or whoever else was in the Jesus family, any more than you call a general's child General Jr. You know, it's like, it's a title. It is something that, like, maybe in the modern day you could earn a diploma for, but it's something that you learn you take up to get there, but it's not exclusive to that titled individual. Like, anyone can learn it. That's kind of the point of Jesus. So that whole Jesus died for my sins, I feel like you're saying something without like all of this texture and background to it. Like, it's a whole lot more complicated than that, because that's almost like you do something bad, but Jesus died for my sins, here's my card, you know, like, here's my ticket. It's not like that, I don't think. One thing that I'm getting over and over again is how the individual conducts themselves has everything to do with the environment around them. And if like-minded individuals get together, that intention amplifies. And you see that with like groups that like hate groups that get together because they hate somebody or something, which, wow, you can't find something better to get together over. Like, seriously, like cards or a board game or anything that doesn't involve like subjugation and violence against someone for something they cannot help, you know. Like, I know there's the birth blueprint plan thing, but we're not all aware of that. So in most cases, and this is kind of true because we have to get to remembering that it's not like right there, part of our immediate consciousness. So you have to like relearn it, and that is a lot of why we're here. Like, you'll have a specific mission that you're supposed to do, or set of tasks you are meant to accomplish for some reason. But again, there's not necessarily a need for us to know, you know. And so if you're at all unclear, the best thing you could do is, you know, keep your beeswax straight and don't screw with anybody else's. Like, that is the best way to live, you know. If everybody can like accomplish what they're doing without like hurting or damaging other people, or feeling the need to do that, amazing. Let's do that. Let's like make that a viral thing. Okay, so it didn't break through before, but that's what we're all of us kooks on the internet trying to make it happen. All right, I'm gonna read the cards now, because one thing about this whole moons thing is like they signify a new beginning, and that's what like the Jesus families, the Christ families were trying to achieve, was, you know, a move out of like those old terrible ways of being and thinking, and making the transition to a world of compassionate, empathetic, caring, and Christ consciousness, where everyone, I think the idea with it is that everyone gets to thrive, everyone gets to be happy, everyone has like gets to have love. And you know, part of having that is understanding, I guess, where you are currently and your ideas about it, and understanding that maybe those are not what it's about, and it's less about you than we, less about me than we. That is like key right there, I think, to introducing that sort of shock to the society, is getting people to understand that the thinking of me rather than we tends to escalate into things where me is damaging we, and that ends up damaging things for everyone. All right, so the moons give us time to like examine flaws and mistakes and all of those types of things that are kind of holding us back and impeding our progress, because that's what they do. Anyway, so we're looking to have new beginnings after all of that. Like, once we sort of run our dirty laundry through the washer and get it all clean, you just feel fresh and new, like, you know, fresh laundry. You know the feeling, freshly bathed. You know the feeling. So, okay. Clear your slate and start anew. So, here's the first card. Clear your mental and physical clutter. You will feel so much better. So there's a lot of negative stuff we hang on to. It might not even be ours personally, just sort of like the way we do things in our society. And sometimes those things need to be altered because things change. Happens like every minute, all the time. It's maybe not immediately apparent that change is happening. Like with a kid you live with every day, you don't kind of notice the changes that someone who only sees that child every 3 or 6 months can be like, whoa, you have changed so much. Like when you're just there in the mirror, it's hard to see the day-to-day changes. So I guess you have to kind of just have on faith that change is happening, change is there, because you're doing the work, right? Okay, so the next card is check in with your body and release any tension you are carrying. That is good advice. You don't want to be carrying tension around. It can lead to illness, dis-ease. Like if you're not in ease, you're in dis-ease, and that is not where you want to be. And tension can be like a major cause of that type of thing. You can feel totally overwhelmed. It's a big world, and then there's even bigger stuff beyond that, and you're just like, wait a minute, I'm just trying to figure myself out here, how to be in the world. And sometimes you just have to embrace the enormity of things, because you are a part of it, you know? Like, fear not. You are a part of it. You have more control over yourself and your life than you realize, because fear will make you blind to that kind of thing, will make you forget. And that is something that Jesus was trying to get people to understand. I can't believe I tapped the counter and it activated the phone. Oh, okay, that was a notification. Never mind. So anyway, this card says, stop pushing against what is, align with it, and move on. I think I was saying something along those lines earlier here, like, you kind of have to, like, get with the program. Oh, I might not have been recording when I said that. I just talk non-stop. Do you know that? Hi, is that news to you? I'm gonna get a camera that's not a phone, and I'm just gonna start recording myself all the time, and then you'll be sorry. Or you'll think it's funny, which is why I want to do it, because I crack myself up all the time and I'm getting sidetracked. Stop pushing against what is. Align with it and move on. So, you are just this woman or young woman, and all of a sudden an angel appears, and you're like, you want me to do what now? Like, isn't my life hard enough already? I don't know that they thought that way. That is definitely my modern take on things. Maybe back then, visitations from the angelic realm were not a big deal. It happened. Sounds like stuff like that was happening a lot. And I think the reason why things like that could be perceived and could happen is because of the, like I was saying about the virgin birth, the growth medium, the the place where you plant your seeds. It has to be conducive to that. And so when these ideas were presented to the virgins, like I was saying, like how well did they take that at first? Did they just immediately go, yes, amen, our Father, whatever, I'll do, you know. There was definitely people that were that way. There's stories recorded about those people in the Bible. And there's people like that now. Like, they can fully hand over, you know, their trust to God to just handle everything. And I've talked about this before, because God is the flow. Going with God is going with the flow. And if you go against it, you're going to have problems. So those people didn't really have choices in the matter. Like, for those particulars, I don't think they could get creative, you know. They just had to, like, get with the program and make the best of it. And that's kind of like life until you learn how to make it more to your specifications. Life. Not even gonna go there. Here, the next card says, you're too amazing to follow everyone else. Forge your own path. You don't have to, like, follow everyone else. That leads to narking on each other. It leads to, in my opinion, like, you're confined, you're constricted by what everyone else expects and wants. So you forge your own path. The Jesus family, I mean, the epitome, all of them, the men and the women. And there was a whole family, like, at that time, again, it was very different from now. So it was more okay for a man to marry someone 30 years their junior. And it made sense because you had a bunch of kids with, like, if you had multiple wives, you had multiple kids. And the reason why was because, like, it's real easy to die in those times. And so, you needed as many people as possible to scrape up an existence. You know, it just took a lot, as it does now, to feed a bunch of people. So, you just needed everybody to pitch in, and you needed a lot of bodies. Like, you needed everybody. So, okay. Next card says, say goodbye to your past and leave the baggage behind for good. Never bad advice. For me, you know, and I think many of us, it is not as simple as just going, okay, I've had enough of all of this, I'm just going to leave it behind. This could constitute anything. Anything could be the baggage, and it's going to be unique to the individual, but God, I had something in it, I just lost it. Something about on. It was something about leaving the baggage behind, but in a different sense. Like, say goodbye to your past. Oh, okay, so here's what Jesus was trying to do, was to get us to let go of all of those negative things that we hold on to that are not in the love column, like violence, fear, and greed, and conquest. That, like, taking candy from a baby or from a full-grown man or from a whole nation. Like, it's that one guy deciding, like, it's up to me to, like, go take this from other people and use people to, you know, act out my will, enact my will, you know, which there's a lot of famous people like Alexander, and I don't know why I can only remember Alexander, but Hitler, Putin. Like, all of these countries that have these leaders that are, it's always about them and what they want, and they'll pay lip service to the people, but they'll go and put these people through wars and send them into other countries to loot those other countries, which, hi, you also have a country. You have treasures, you have traditions. So do the other places. Like, who are you to go in there and go, I'm just going to take it and your thing is wrong. You have to do my thing wrong. It's like, you're one dude. Where everybody else? Get out of here. That's my feeling. Okay. So the next card is take responsibility for your choices. This is your life to live. Own it. That kind of speaks for itself. I mean, I don't... What could I add? I mean, I could add. There's a lot of people that are very destructive, and then especially if they end up in positions of power, which they often do. Isn't that kind of weird that people that can be so scary and destructive can trick their way into power to be like even more scary and destructive? Like, how come we don't suss those people out and go, yeah, maybe this guy is not such a great idea? Like, those ideas could go bad. They could afoul us. And they often do. Like, people will talk a good talk and make a big speech and act. They're actors. They're putting on a show, and we love that. We will think Iron Man is real because it was such a good show. That kind of thing. Like, some of us are so simple. But really, we have a lot of people that just, here in the United States, to be clear, that get into a position of power and then use it to do something other than what they're there for, like to make money. And also, it's a weird thing. Like, a lot of politicians go in and they're broken, and in a few years they're suddenly millionaires, and it's like, you don't get paid millions, and you're not supposed to be doing other stuff. Where's that coming from? I didn't do it. Someone did it to me. Like, everything but you, the person with the stuff and the evidence in your house, and the history that can be tracked by the law enforcement of where you were and who you were with, and you shouldn't have been at and with. Like, obviously doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Or just even, you know, not someone in a position of power other than, like, the other half of a partnership. Like a spouse that cheats or spends all the money on, like, not the family and the home, and then doesn't even have anything to show for it, and then tries to, like, it's their fault. It's like everything is always somebody else's fault, and that's, we're so into, like, big, manly, strong men, but if you can't, like, admit that you screwed up, if you can't admit you cheated on your wife and everybody knows you did, or you cheated on your taxes and the law enforcement or the authorities know that you did, and you're on huge trial in front of cameras and big lights and reporters that check every detail, and you're going to sit there and say, I didn't do it. We got a lot of that. And then people get away with it, though, because, I don't know, they don't know how to, like, investigate the truth or sense that they're not being told the truth. Like, I don't know. It's almost like the ones that don't want to take responsibility have this environment where they can get away with it. It's like kind of okay, but it really is not. Regardless, like, if you do something good, you can't wait to tell everybody. You can't wait to own that. It's the same way with the other thing. And I really feel like when you neglect the other thing, you're not saying so much that needs to be said and told to everyone. Like, stuff gets hidden. Like, there's nothing good about not taking the responsibility, because I feel like right off the bat, you're already obscuring truth. Okay, so the last card is life can be hard and life can be wonderful. Which will you focus on? Seriously, I have no notes for that. So here, look at the picture. Okay, I guess I do have a note. There is a person sitting there, and there's in solitude. They're sitting on a hill. I don't know how they're so close to, like, whatever space or planet or whatever that is, but maybe it's a metaphor for the connection between the meditating person and, like, the creator and the cosmos and all of the stuff that's bigger. And they're thinking about it. Are you gonna, like, maybe the person sitting there is thinking about, like, changing their life, like, breaking out of that paradigm of all of those things where it's funny, like, the things that hurt a person and the people around them the most is when they're like, me, 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 me. I have to have this. I have to have more of it than everybody else. And I don't care what happens to other people while I'm in pursuit of whatever the thing I'm in pursuit of is. Usually money, women, drugs. Like, it all is, like, inside of the same circle and cycle. Or you can turn it all around and make it not about you, and then you don't have to worry about you. Like, as soon as you are, like, in service of things other than yourself, benefits come. But it's like, it may not look like it does if it's the bad version of you, because it may not be that you are a sudden wealthy person. It might be that wealth is in another form that you are able to appreciate because you're not solely concerned with getting and doing for yourself, which means being unconcerned and, like, just sort of clearing the way for yourself. And that's me, like, literally knocking people out of the way like bowling pins, as if they're that unimportant. But it's like every other person is as important as you think you are. They also are too. They have the capacity as the same as you do. So it's like that is to be respected, in my opinion. And we don't respect so many people because to us they don't look right or act right or whatever. But it's like, they're not us. They can do them. Let that happen. Let that be. Let it be all about them, you know? Because that's, I feel like the less it's about me and the more it's about we, the better off everyone is. Okay, that's it. Oh, I almost knocked my ring flying. Thank you and good night.